My name's Justin, and I run a vegetable gardening business. And I thought it would be fun to show you guys what my garden looks like and what I'm doing on a weekly basis. And that way you can kind of follow along. You can figure out what works best for you. We are located in Zone 7A in New Jersey. So we have hot, humid summers and cold winters. I grow for about 9-10 months out of the year, and I get most of my fresh produce just from this small space. So we're going to take you on a tour. We're going to show you exactly what I do every single week, how you can grow productive vegetables, the planting methods that I use, the timing that I use, the succession planting that I use, and all you have to do is follow along, check out some of our tips, and that's it. So the first stop on our garden tour is the tower garden. I've used the tower garden for about 5 years now, and I use it primarily for growing greens. The way that I set up my tower garden is I set up the top 2 to 3 rungs with just small herbs. So these are things normally like basil, Thai basil, lemon basil. You could also do cilantro. You could grow a little bit of parsley. Any type of herb will grow really, really well in the tower garden. That's been my experience. The other thing that you can do, or what you're going to want to think about with your tower garden, is at the top levels you're going to want your smaller type of herbs. At the bottom part you can grow your bigger stuff. So bigger stuff meaning like bok choy, Swiss chard. In my tower garden right now I'm growing primarily bok choy and basil. So I have the first 3 rungs actually with basil this year, and then the bottom 2 with Swiss chard and with bok choy. And what will happen is, and we're going to take you through this season, is as we move along, I'm going to start to remove some of the plants as they get big and replant it with different plants to move us into the fall. The tower garden is an aeroponic system. So the way that it works is there's a reservoir in the bottom here, and it's filled with water. You fill it with some nutrient solutions, which you can buy from Tower Garden directly. And the way that it works is it pumps water all the way to the top here, and then it drips down. Every tower garden comes with a timer. So it'll have a timer here, and you'll set your timer based off of when you want it to get the most amount of water. So for example, in New Jersey, Zone 7A, typically around like between 12 and 4 p.m. is the hottest part of the day. So I'll have the tower garden on for 15 minutes and off for 15 minutes. I'll turn it on just so you can hear it. So it just sounds like a normal fountain that would be in your yard. It's actually very soothing. This one's outside of a bedroom window. So if you live in an apartment building and you're thinking, I really want to get into growing my own fresh produce, but I don't have the space, the tower garden could be the thing that's, that you could use. The tower garden could be perfect for you. If you are just getting into gardening and you're a little bit unsure and you're thinking, you know what, I don't know about digging in the dirt and how that's going to be, and I don't want to mess up my yard or anything like that, the tower garden is absolutely a major player for me here. So I get a lot of produce out of this product. Alright, the next stop on our garden tour is the strawberry bed. If you look at my strawberry bed, you might notice that there's these yellow bins. This is new this year. These yellow bins are upcycles. So this is the first time that I'm using these yellow bins, and this is the first season that I'm doing strawberries here. So this is a first season strawberry. Now what I expect to get out of a first season strawberry is, if you look at this strawberry right here, what you'll notice is that there's only 2 strawberries, right? So 2 little strawberries out of 5 total beds, which is not a lot. And that's what we expect for a first year strawberry bed. Typically, during the first year, strawberries are just going to grow, so they'll send out some runners, which we're going to talk about in some future episodes. and we're going to just focus on getting our strawberry plants as healthy as possible so that next season we get a really good crop. These bins are filled just with compost and then topped off with a mulch, and that's it. Alright, so the next bed we're looking at on our garden tour is our pepper bed. And what I do, and we're going to walk you through this as we go through the season, is I really believe in succession planting. And what that means is planting constantly. So as soon as something's done, we're going to put in the next plant. And what I did with this bed is I left some plants around so that you could see what I mean by succession planting. If you look at this bed, what do you notice? We have peppers here. So here are our peppers. So these are going to be bell peppers that I'm growing in this bed. And some cubanelle peppers. So my bell peppers are going to be up front. My cubanelles are going to be in the back. Now, if you look, you might notice, oh, look, Justin, there's a couple other plants here that I haven't seen before that don't look like pepper plants. And you're correct. So what I did is I had planted radishes before, so this is a small radish. And don't be afraid of harvesting some smaller stuff. This radish is still going to be delicious. It's going to be tasty. It's going to be nutritious. And you grew it. So there's no reason not to eat it. And then what I had in this bed is I have some Swiss chard, which I'm going to try to keep through the season. And then I also have some bok choy here. So the bok choy has started to bolt, which is typical, and it's because it's just gotten hot out. So the bok choy is ready to flower, which is what we call bolting. And I'm going to harvest this whole plant probably today. So I'll just cut this plant down right at the base. And what you'll notice is behind this plant, there's another pepper plant back there that I snuck in. So these peppers have been in the ground for about 4 days or so. And the benefit of this is while the peppers are still young and they're obviously not producing, I get a little bit more productivity out of my garden bed. So I can get another harvest or two of Swiss chard, bok choy, and even these radishes. And it's not going to hurt my pepper growth. Again, the same thing going on over here. There's some peppers just kind of tucked in between my Swiss chard. You'll notice that some of this bok choy has some bug bites and things like that. It's totally fine to eat it. If it's got some bug bites on it, it's not going to hurt you. In fact, there's multiple studies that have come out about how leaf damage actually promotes different sorts of chemicals for the plant to release that are actually beneficial for you. So don't be afraid of eating leaves with holes in them. It's not bad. It's just the grocery store tells you that they're bad, but it's not bad. It's safe to eat them. And again, I'll harvest these probably today for dinner. The next bed on our garden tour is the garlic and shallot bed. If you look here, I have just a line of garlic here. I had some extra bulbs as I was doing my planting this winter for my garlic. So I just laid out a line. You'll notice that they're nice and close together. And then I loaded in my shallots. So my shallots I planted later in the winter, around the end of February, beginning of March. And they look great. They're sending up all these nice green stems. They have some nice bulbs forming. These will be pulled in the next couple weeks or so. You can also eat the ends of your shallots, so you can eat these shallot greens. It's basically like a green onion. It tastes just like a green onion. Smells delicious. Tastes delicious. So you'll notice that we have some Swiss chard mixed into this bed. And the reason that I mixed in this Swiss chard is because I thought, well, I'm going to want some more greens as the spring starts to progress and then into the summer. And I know that my garlic and my shallots aren't going to stay in this bed for the entire season. So what I did is I planted my Swiss chard. I've harvested from it many times. And as soon as all this stuff comes out, I'm going to keep my Swiss chard and I'm going to plant my next crop around my Swiss chard. This Swiss chard will probably make it through this winter season without me pulling it. So it'll have really good root structure. It'll be delicious. and it saves me some space. Remember, the goal here is to grow as much food as we can in a compact space, and as much food that we're going to eat. So it's all about foods that we're eating, and it's all about foods that are packed with nutrients, that are delicious, and in my opinion, foods that are typically pretty expensive at the grocery store. Alright, so the next bed on our garden tour is our beets and kale bed. So what I've done here is I've done what's called multi-sowing. So these beets are actually sown 4 beets all together as a clump, and we're going to show you this in a future episode, how to plant or how to multi-sow beets and then how to plant multi-sown beets. But the benefit is that you get 4 beets in one little area. And then around my beets, I also have some kale. So this purple kale was planted early this spring. So in the very beginning of March was when I planted this purple kale. And as you can see, it's beautiful. So it's got a nice, deep, dark purple color to it. It's very, very tasty. It's getting bigger as the season progresses. At some point, I probably will cut it down and replant with something else, perhaps a zucchini, maybe some acorn squash. I also have some okra in the back, which you can't see right now, but you will see it again in a future episode. And the whole purpose here is to just try and grow as much produce as I can in a little space. You'll also notice that there's some tomatoes that I tucked in here very sneakily. So I just snuck these tomatoes in here. You might be thinking, what is he doing? Why is he sneaking tomatoes in with a bunch of beets? I know that I'm going to pull some of these beets soon, and so I knew, all right, I have a little bit of extra space. I can start my tomatoes here, and then once I pull my beets, my tomatoes will get a bit more sun, and they'll probably produce for me. Remember, the whole purpose of what we're doing here is we're trying to grow as much food as we can in a small space. So it's all about maximizing our space. And the way that I've found works best is to just continually plant and to intercrop. So plant different species of plants around others and try to maximize productivity. So if you know something's going to get pulled, for example, these beets are going to get pulled soon, I can plant something near them knowing I'm going to pull them out soon enough. Alright, so for today, what we're going to do is we're going to harvest garlic scapes. And garlic scapes are delicious. They're normally not found in the grocery store. If they are found in the grocery store, they're very, very seasonal. So typically you'll get them through the month of June, maybe into July, and then after that you won't see them on shelves again until the following year. The reason is, what a garlic scape actually is it's a flower. So it's the garlic plant is trying to send up a flower. So just like most flowering plants, or all flowering plants, what garlic is trying to do is it's trying to reproduce. Garlic is trying to reproduce here. So what it's doing is it'll send up this flower. The flower will get pollinated by a pollinator, so bees typically, and then it'll go to seed. Now in our case, we don't want the garlic plant to go to flower. And the reason we don't want it to go to flower is because we want to eat this garlic scape. This garlic scape is basically a green onion with a garlicky flavor. So in order to cut it, what we're going to do is we're going to just take our shears or a sharp pocket knife. And we're going to just go down to the base here and clip. And this is our first garlic scape. And they're delicious. You'll notice that they're going to send out a little bit of liquid. That means that the plant is nice and hydrated. It smells delicious. It tastes absolutely phenomenal. And then we know that after we clip the garlic scape, we have about a week or two until we're going to harvest the whole garlic plant, which we're going to take you through in the next week or so. The other purpose of harvesting the garlic scapes are that it's going to have the plant send the rest of the energy that it's using to grow into the bulb. So we want the plant to really bulb up in these final week to 2 weeks before we harvest. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to stop watering all of our garlic. So we're no longer going to water it We're going to just keep it as dry as possible in hopes that the bulb is nice and dry when we start to pull it up. We don't want it to be wet because that'll tend to have the bulbs be moldy as we start to age them. The other thing I wanted to talk about is if you look at your garlic plant and it's real late season, you're going to notice that there's some yellowing at the leaves. So this bottom leaf here is yellow. There's a little bit of, it looks like rust almost on these other leaves. That's telling us that the garlic plant is almost ready to be harvested. So again, once you get your scapes and you've harvested them, you have about a week or so until you're going to pull the rest of the plant, and we're going to walk you through in the next week or two how to do this. So how to harvest your garlic and how to dry it. Now again, this garlic is a soft neck garlic. And the reason that I grow soft neck garlic is because, personally, I like to eat the garlic scapes. So having the garlic scapes is a bonus for me. Count it as like a double crop. So not only do I get the garlic bulbs, I get the scapes. In the grocery store, most of the garlic that you're buying is hard neck garlic. Hard neck garlic has a really long shelf life, but unfortunately, for longer shelf life, we're going to sacrifice some flavor. So the best garlic you can buy is a soft neck garlic, and you can grow it right in your own backyard. That's all for today. If you like what you see, click the link below to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, reach out to me in the comments.